The last set of numbers we discuss and learn about in this class is integers. Integers involve positive and negative numbers. And so, of course, I would want you to think about in what situations would we think about needing a negative number, right? And we started talking about counting numbers way back at the beginning of the class and moved through the operations involved with those counting numbers and what do we do with them and how they're used, to fractions, right? The idea of parts to whole, or that you have values that are not whole numbers, which then lead us to decimals. And now we then lead into integers, positive and negative numbers. And so it's probably worth your time if you're going to be a future teacher, you're learning about integers and how to teach this and what does it mean, is to kind of look at some of the history and do your own search on that, right? Of what negative numbers are and how they came to be, right? And what are some other possible uses for them. And so this first situation we look at here is negative 30 plus 14, negative 30 subtract 14, negative 30 subtract negative 14, and challenging yourself to think about when would we ever have to subtract the negative or have negative numbers, right? And so if we were in class, we'd be talking and having these discussions. And so the challenge was, can you come up with a situation for any of these three, right? Where in the real world, we would maybe need to use a negative number. So think about that context, right? And so I came up with one here. A hole is made that is 30 feet deep. Then 14 feet of the hole is filled up. How deep is the hole now? And so which one of those do you think matches up? I'll give you a couple seconds. You can pause and think about it. But as I think about that problem, the one that it matches up to me is you have negative 30 and then you add the dirt back in. And so your hole would be 16 feet deep, right? It would be 16 feet deep. But to represent this deepness, we use a negative, meaning that we're underneath, we're below the ground, right? And so a negative is kind of, an abstract idea. Here's our first definition connected to these negative numbers, or we call them integers. Integers are the numbers positive and negative, right? 1, 2, 3 are called positive integers. The negative 1, 2, 3 are called negative integers. 0 is neither a positive nor negative integer. Okay, but we call it an integer. It is 0. So these are the sets of numbers that we have.